My name is Dan Power. I'm a data person from way back. Prior to right now, I was a head of data governance for State Street Global Markets for 6 years. And prior to that, I had my own consulting firm called Hub Designs for 10 years, working for large corporations, primarily the high-tech industry and the financial services industry. In a typical corporate environment anyway, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of data sources, and they all have their peculiarities. There's quirks in the data. What I've liked about the data observability products that I've looked at is they really help me understand the data better. And there's no area that's more important for than AI. The beauty of observability is it broadens the question from just data quality. Is this data trustworthy, which is important, but tell me everything else about the data. How much is it costing me? How much value is it delivering? Is the infrastructure that it's on reliable? Where are the bottlenecks? How do I improve performance? Can I go from batch to real time? There's so much more to learn from the data that observability really opens up those other possibilities, and no area more important to do that than in AI, I believe. Let's talk about the topic of shift left, because that's something I've been a big advocate of for a long time. And I'll give you an example that really hammers it home. I had a client, a manufacturing company, and one of the things was assigning the country code where that product was going to be made. They didn't always know, so if that was the case, they put in an XX, which is obviously not a valid country code. And what they found was if they didn't catch it before that product code went live or became official, then it would propagate to 38 different downstream systems. So instead of fixing it in one place, they now had to go fix it in 38 places because their integration was such. Duplicate data is another example. But in healthcare, it can cost 200 times more to fix a duplicate than to prevent a duplicate. So there's all kinds of costs. And the issue with not having shift left is that you don't find out about things sometimes until it's too late. And AI is really the worst case scenario. There's two costs. One of them is it makes a bad decision and you catch it and now you have to go fix it, which is bad enough. And the cost of that infrastructure, I would say both of those are very costly. Obviously, if it's not detected at all, then the reputational hit that you take, and especially if it has to do with AI, you don't want to be the company that's being written up for bias or harm or anything. AI should really stay in the background and make our lives easier and be a force multiplier, but it shouldn't be dragging you into the spotlight of public opinion. It can happen that you just didn't do your due diligence because you didn't have observability and you didn't do the shift left. As you're supporting AI, you need those extended capabilities because the stakes are so high. What I would say is data observability gives us capabilities around data. And as a data person, I always want to understand the data better. I want to know what's going on, how is it flowing from place to place, what's the underlying infrastructure, who's accessing the data. And I just came from a company that had 3,000 different distinct data sources for 39,000 people, which is a lot. The more I can understand that, it's not enough to say it's complicated and we can't solve it. I need better tools. I need to be able to understand the data, how it flows, the infrastructure and compute and storage. I don't want to have to do that research every time I have a question. I want the tool to gather the data ahead of time about the data. So obviously we're talking about metadata, but organizing it and being able to do analytics and having the understanding, it just makes my life as a data person easier to know the details of no one's using this particular report, or this query hasn't been run in 5 years, or guess what, I have 2,000 end users on this database that I didn't realize I had, or hey, these people are exporting that data into Excel and I really don't want them doing it because it's super sensitive. The more observability I have and the more capabilities, even financial, like where am I really getting the most bang for my buck from my data management spending? Which tools and activities really provide 80% of the value? It's probably only 20% of my spend that's providing 80% of the value, but I don't always know which is which. For me, as a kind of data governance and data management person, now with data observability tools, we're able to get answers to those questions much more easily and not have to do the manual research that would have been required before.